Hey out there folks, it's Dave here from Davestation VR, and today we're talking about a brand new PSVR game called Covert. Now if you're a fan of Mission Impossible or Metal Gear Solid style stealth games, this one's definitely going to be up your alley because that is the vibe that they're going for. But there's a little twist on the formula here because this is a co-op mandatory stealth title. So basically there's one player in the headset and the other one is on this companion app that you can get on your phone or tablet. And the way they do the asymmetric co-op here is actually really well done, and probably some of my favorite I've seen in VR titles like this. So the way this all works is that if you're in the VR headset, you are the spy on the ground, the infiltrator, going in and scanning and hacking and sneaking around guards, yourself physically. If you are on the phone, you're sort of a hacker kind of view where you can see a map of everything and all the interactable items and the guards, field of vision and where they're moving and stuff like that. So basically it's the role of the player on the phone to call out enemy locations or to say like disable a security camera, move part of the environment so that you can get to the next place if you're the VR player. And luckily, the phone player has plenty to do in any given level, and it's not secondary because it is mandatory. It's part of the experience. So each player gets something to do that feels like a kind of a complete package. The only kind of downfall, I would say, is that sometimes it feels like if you've got someone who's really going in on the phone who knows what they're doing, it can kind of feel like you're just following directions in VR. Like, okay, now run. Okay, go left. Go right, follow my waypoint, and you're feeling like you're just getting led around on a string a little bit. They don't give the VR player enough agency to do something on the ground level that would be different than what you'd be suggested by the phone player for the most part. So that could have been a little better, but overall the package is a good one. I like the way it works. It's kind of like a miniature Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes wrapped around a campaign, because there are definitely sections where only I can see one part of the puzzle and only you can see one part of the puzzle, and we have to communicate and work together to get through it. So yeah, the concept for me worked really well with a couple shortcomings. Now, because this started as a mobile VR game and was ported, I want to take a minute to talk about how well that port went, how good the PSVR implementation is or isn't. So first thing off the bat, the graphics look very crisp, while the text is very legible. And, it's easy on the eye, and I think the art design, goes a decent way in supporting these kind of simple, cartoony graphics you've got. But the environments and the textures are very, very simple, and you can really tell that it came from mobile origins. They didn't really seem to do much to make it look any slicker or anything. So it is going to be pretty, stale looking in most rooms. So just be aware of that. It does support DualShock 4 or the PlayStation Move, which is cool that they added the Move support, but it can feel kind of strange the way it's implemented. You're meant to interact with buttons and switches and all this other stuff with your hands, but you can't actually reach and touch them. You have to hold down the Move button, and it triggers an animation where your hand floats off and does the thing. That is kind of finicky, and it also breaks the immersion quite a bit, so I really didn't like that choice, although I imagine it'd be much more work to have the player physically interact with the thing. So I see why they did it, but I just didn't like it. And not to pile on here, but before we get to the final impressions and wrap up, I want to go over a couple other issues I had while I was playing that didn't have anything to do with the port, as far as I can tell. The biggest headache is that the game often loses your mission completion progress on the save file unless you go all the way to the beginning of the next stage and hit the first checkpoint. So I had a few where I would beat the stage, it took a while, I'd get back to the main headquarters, and then quit, assuming it had saved. It didn't save, and I had to go back and redo what I had just done. So that's a pain in the ass. I wish they would fix that. There were also just some general glitches. Occasionally the person I was playing with would fall through the floor indefinitely and have to restart the game. Or, if you try to go somewhere beyond where the mission requires you to go, it can't really deal with that, and weird things happen. But it wasn't game-breaking generally. The other thing is, and I know this is a budget game, but VR games that have like cutscenes or dialogue or plot progression where you're literally just standing there looking at a wall while people talk in voiceover.
Hey, if it isn't my old friends from Capital City. Oh, Elliot. Should have seen this coming.
I hate it. It's so boring. I mean, the voice acting's really good, but I just wish there was, like, maybe a visual pop-up of even just, like, the face of the person that was talking right then, or something to make it so you weren't just sitting in an elevator listening to disembodied voices the whole time. In the end, though, I think this is a really good value for $14.99. You're going to get about 4 hours total out of it. There's 8 missions, and there's some replayability because you're going to get a different gameplay experience when you're on the phone app versus being in the VR headset. I played one on the phone and then went back and played it in VR, and it was a totally night and day experience. I had no idea what it looked like or what they were seeing, so it's cool to go back and see it from the other perspective. In the end, I would really recommend this game to anyone who's interested in stealth games or unique kind of co-op experiences. This would be a great couples game, something to get people communicating during the gameplay experience, and that's really fun. That said, know that it's mandatory. So if you're going to just be by yourself, don't spend the money on this. You need to have a co-op partner. But if you've got one who's willing to check this out, I would absolutely recommend it for $14.99. And especially if it ever goes on sale. So, that's it for me on Covert. I think it's definitely worth your time, and I really enjoyed it. So, real quick shout out to the developer for sending me a review code. Thank you for that. And, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time around. Thanks.
The guards gotcha.